Dear students, knowledge seekers and learners, welcome to lecture 4 of week 2 wherein we are going to talk about financial intermediaries in India. We all have up till now appreciated the financial system and its relevance and importance with respect to financial intermediaries. In today's lecture, we are going to focus on financial intermediaries with respect to India. In today's discussion, we will be starting with the meaning of financial intermediaries, followed by need for intermediaries. In addition to this, we will also be talking about the different types of financial intermediaries that are operating in India. After that, we'll talk about banking intermediaries that are very important for the banking system in India, followed by non-banking intermediaries. Subsequently, we will try to understand the role of financial intermediaries in Indian financial system, followed by the differences among intermediaries. In addition to this, we'll also try to talk about the structural significance of the financial intermediaries. Let us begin the journey by discussing the meaning of financial intermediaries. At the outset, financial intermediaries are institutions that channel funds from savers to borrowers. Thus, the financial intermediaries are very important because they provide a context where a bridge is being developed between savers and borrowers. We know that savers are those people and institutions or entities that have excess money, and on the other hand, borrowers are those who are having deficit money. In this context, there are issues that needs to be taken care of so that the bridge between savers and borrowers minimizes. Thus, financial intermediaries are institutions that channel funds from savers to borrowers. There is another specific characteristics of financial intermediaries that becomes part of the meaning of financial intermediaries, and that is they act as middle agents in financial transaction. The middle agents or the middle agency is a very important concept in finance and financial system. The middle agents are actually working on the ground to operationalize the different financial transactions as well as financial products. Without middle agents, it is not possible that these bridges between savers and borrowers can become active and become a common parlance among the people and other entities. Thus, the middle agents are very relevant and important, and financial intermediaries acts as middle agents. The only thing which should be understood in this particular financial intermediaries is the importance of agency function. So, middle agents is related to agency functions. Okay. Now, what is agency functions? Agency functions are basically the function through which people delegate their power to somebody else. Let us try to understand by an example. So, what happens? We have savers, we have the borrowers. Now, savers are people or entities that may not be able to take all the financial decisions. Savers also may not be financially literate, because of which their decisions may not be logical. So, considering all these things, they may require some expert opinion. Thus, savers can select an agent because of the limitations of their knowledge and skills. Now, the savers have transferred their collective decision making to the agents, and agents then can take a decision to whom to borrow. The avenues where the savers' money can be invested can be lent. So, this agency function is applicable in middle agents. Agency function is also very important for savers to understand that in this context they may not be able to take all the decisions that may be in the favor of savers, because middle agents work under agency functions. Totally outsourcing your decisions to a middle agent may not be a very good option if you have several options. So the recommended thing for people is that if they can learn some basic skills, they know some basic concepts related to finance, they should outsource the decision of where to invest or to whom to borrow, but that should be verified through their basic understanding. Also, financial intermediaries, instead of direct lending, they focus on passing of the funds through these entities. Thus, financial intermediaries tries to develop a structure in which they are used as an entity from where the money is passing. Now, this is important because the financial intermediaries are skill based institutions and units that can maximize the utility and the efficiency of the funds. This role thus is a win-win situation for both the savers as well as borrowers. Thus, the core mechanism of modern financial systems is financial intermediaries. Thus, they cannot be ignored in any financial system, including Indian financial system. Let us now try to understand and delve into the question that what is the need for financial intermediaries. The direct finance which is there is limited to information asymmetry. So what happens that lots of different informations are coming which are different in terms of interest rate, in terms of prepayment, post payment, etc. That is the limitation of direct finance. So if there is a saver and a borrower, now between these two, if there is no middle agent, then what happens that these two do not know the market valuation or different types of information. They know information that is available at their own disposal. On the other hand, if intermediaries come into play, they have a collection of information which is market information. Another important issue with direct finance, which is contrary to financial intermediaries, is the risk associated. Between savers and borrowers, there is no guarantor. So, if any transaction is being facilitated between savers and borrowers, there is no guarantor and therefore the risk is very high. Also, the understanding of savers and borrowers in terms of digital literacy may vary, which may further complicate the issue and it may fall into the ambit of some legal cases. Thus, to also avoid legal issues and bottlenecks, it is advisable to minimize the risk and to clearly mention the risk. Similarly, direct finance is also limited due to the transactions costs that are being associated with it. If there is any transaction between savers and borrowers, now because both do not have the requisite skill set, or in case of that any regulatory body's approval, the financial transaction which will be initiated between the two will also lead to high transaction cost. On the other hand, the financial intermediaries, whenever they try to go for transaction cost, they try to find out the minimum cost which can be taken up for facilitating a financial transaction. Thus, intermediaries simplify lending as well as borrowing, and thus their role is very important in the Indian financial system. Secondly, they also provide expertise in financial decisions which laymen may not be having. Thus, financial intermediaries make the financial system more efficient and accessible. This efficiency and accessibility is also a very valid and integral concept, and this provides a robust and regulated environment in the Indian financial system. Dear students, knowledge seekers and learners, let us now focus on the nature of financial intermediation. Financial intermediation involves transforming financial claims. What do we mean by transforming financial claims? It means that the claims, how they are settled, the whole scenario is simplified. Financial transactions are claimed when there is some maturity period or there is some break in the period. Thus, financial intermediation involves transforming financial claims between savers and borrowers. Now, savers and borrowers both are very interesting because both wants to settle the claims. Savers wants repayment of their total money while borrowers want to repay the total money. Thus, intermediaries in this respect perform maturity transformation such as short-term debts and long-term loans. They provide short-term deposits that can be converted into long-term loans. Similarly, they focus on risk transformation, which converts the low-risk deposits into high-risk lending. In addition to this, there is also a function which intermediaries perform, that is size transformation, small savings converted into large-scale lending. Financial intermediation also handle information processing and credit evaluation. Together, these can improve the robustness and the stability of the Indian financial system. Thus, in Indian financial system's context, intermediation is not just limited to fund transfer, rather it is financial transformation and risk management in the economy. Let us now talk about the classification of financial intermediaries. Financial intermediaries can be divided into two types: the banking intermediaries that perform within the banking system and non-banking financial intermediaries that fall outside the banking system. These two classifications are based on nature of operations and regulatory framework. Let us now discuss the classification of financial intermediaries in detail. We have banking intermediaries. Banking intermediaries accept deposits and provide loans. Examples of banking intermediaries includes the commercial banks, the regional rural banks, in short known as RRBs, cooperative banks such as Grameen Bank, all these are the most important intermediaries in India. As you all can see that banking sector perform most of the financial sector's activities, presence of banking intermediaries is very important for the Indian financial system. Let us now focus on the different types of banking intermediaries. The first is commercial banks. Commercial banks provide a wide range of services that are very useful for facilitating the financial system. It includes deposits, loans, payment services. It serves individuals, businesses and government. Commercial banks also include, and they are the backbone of Indian financial system. It should be noted that commercial banks perform all these services that facilitate not just the service sector, but they also act as something which complements other sectors of the economy. Any sector with the economy cannot prosper without the need of financial services. Suppose agriculture sector we take as an example. Agriculture sector is also very important sector, but it also depends on commercial banks for different type of financial services such as loans, deposits, etc. Thus, the relevance of commercial banks are not just limited to service sector, but they are also extended to primary and secondary sector as well. The second type within the banking intermediaries is regional rural banks, that is RRBs. Regional rural banks are established to serve rural and agricultural sectors. These rural and agriculture sectors issues focus on small farmers, rural enterprises, and they are very relevant for all the financial system products and services. Regional rural banks are specifically focused for the rural areas because there has been studies and research which have highlighted the regional disparities between urban and rural areas. Thus, to give extra impetus and to promote rural areas and to mitigate their regional imbalances, the regional rural banks were established and they have served and they are still serving the different rural areas. In addition to this, the presence of regional rural banks have also promoted rural financial inclusion. Rural financial inclusion is again resetting the tone of development in the rural areas, and thus it is quite promising initiative and development in the Indian financial system. The next type within the banking intermediaries is cooperative banks. Cooperative banks are known as cooperative banks because their primary principle is cooperation rather than competition. And cooperation here means that people come together, share their assets, help each other, and then grow. Thus, these cooperative principles have been the foundation of such banks, and thus they are known as cooperative banks. Generally, these banks serve local communities and small borrowers, so they are indigenous, they are limited to certain specific regions and areas. The relevance of cooperative banks cannot be undermined because cooperative banks generally deal with those sections of the society that are communities, that are marginalized communities, or that are working in those areas that are being neglected by the commercial banks. Cooperative banks thus are very important financial intermediaries, and they are important for grassroots level finance. Let us now talk about the another category and classification of financial intermediaries, that is non-banking financial intermediaries. Non-banking financial intermediaries, the term here non-banking is used, but these non-banking financial intermediaries generally are regulated both by the Indian Banking Act as well as by the Companies Act. Generally, the non-banking financial intermediaries do not accept demand deposit, which we also call the public deposit. Rather, they provide financial services and credit, and these non-banking financial intermediaries can work in different sectors in real estate, in service sector, etc. Examples of non-banking financial intermediaries include NBFCs, that is non-banking financial companies, okay, NBFCs. Second, insurance companies that are regulated by IRDAI. Mutual funds, that are those funds where again investment is in small denominations in the stock exchange. Non-banking financial intermediaries, they complement the banking system to complete the whole financial system. Let us now talk about all the specific types of non-banking financial institutions that are running in Indian economy. The first is non-banking financial companies. These non-banking financial companies, they provide loans and financial services. These non-banking financial companies, they focus on retail credit, which means giving credit to the household sector. It also focuses on vehicle finance, that is asset based financing. They also focus on MSME, that is medium and small and medium enterprises, which facilitate the short term deposits that may be in the form of working capital. Okay, so these type of issues are being dealt with the non-banking financial company. Again, it is to be noted that non-banking financial companies are regulated both by Indian Banking 1949 as well as the Company Act 2013. Non-banking financial companies are very important for credit expansion. The second category is insurance companies. Insurance companies, they provide risk coverage. Insurance companies are important because they try to mitigate and share the risk between different parties so that one single entity is not burdened by the losses. So provides risk coverage. The second relevance is they collect premiums and investments. So collection of premium is a type of saving mobilization. People habit develops in terms of saving, and they also invest, so this is investment. So these companies, they perform a good saving investment function. Insurance companies, they help in risk management and long-term savings. The third component within the non-banking financial intermediaries is mutual funds. Let us understand what is a mutual fund. So mutual fund is a type of fund. This is a fund, and this fund is divided into small denominations. You can purchase which are known as units, mutual fund units. This one single box, say for example, is 1 unit. So a particular fund may have, say for example, 500 units of investments. Now mutual fund is generally for the people, for the small investors who cannot buy the whole fund. So what they can do, depending on their capability, they can buy units of this mutual fund. So for example, Mr. A has bought around 50 units, B 45, C 90, D 120, E 10. Okay, now there are 500 units, so these units can be sold. So everybody is able to invest some amount of money in this fund. So this fund is being contributed, and this whole fund is then being invested in the market, and whatever return is given by the market on this fund, after deducting the fund manager's cost, we call it fund manager's cost. So after deducting the fund manager's cost from the return, so it will be return minus the fund manager's cost, that is now being distributed between all the unit holders. This is the concept of mutual. That's why it is known as mutual, together. That is the concept of mutual funds. Thus, pool funds from investors. This mutual fund invests in diversified financial instruments. It may include instruments from primary market, secondary market, debt instrument, equity, hybrid, etc. Mutual funds provide investment opportunities and risk diversification in the Indian financial system. Let us now try to appreciate the difference between banking and non-banking intermediaries. What is the basis? The first basis is deposits. With respect to banking, banking accepts the demand deposits, while non-banking is limited or there is no demand deposits. With respect to regulation, the banking sector is highly regulated. On the other hand, non-banking intermediaries are moderately regulated. With respect to role, the core intermediation is the role which is being performed by banking. On the other hand, the non-banking financial intermediaries, they have a supportive role to the sector or to the working of the environment. Now, both are essential but perform different roles in the Indian financial system. Let us now try to discuss the role of intermediaries in Indian economy. Intermediaries facilitate credit flow from savers to borrowers. Intermediaries also support industrial and agricultural growth by providing facilities, funding, as well as by assisting the borrowers to repay their loan in time. Because financial intermediaries provides expertise and skill-based solutions to the savers and borrowers, the financial intermediaries also are very successful in promoting financial inclusion, that is bringing more unbanked and underrepresented people in the financial sector into the mainstream financial system. With the help of all these functions and role which is being performed by financial intermediaries, they promote economic development in the Indian economy. Let us now try to appreciate the importance of financial intermediaries in the Indian financial system. As we are aware, and you all will agree, that there are different needs of different sector and an economy, and that is very important to be highlighted and to be measured. This indicates that banks alone cannot cover all sectors, and they cannot also provide specialized services to all type of institution. Because of these limitations, the role of financial intermediaries starts to arise, as they can focus on specific sectors that are being neglected by the banking sectors. Thus, financial intermediaries also improve the diversity, which improves further the system efficiency. Financial intermediaries also face several challenges within the Indian financial system. The first challenge faced refers to the regulatory constraint. The regulatory challenges and regulatory system is very strict and it's not very flexible. That is one kind of problem. These financial intermediaries sometimes have to face more laws in comparison to banking sector. For example, non-banking financial companies, they are regulated by two types of law: Indian Banking Act 1949 as well as Indian Companies Act 2013. So, a banking sector, while is regulated only by Indian banking system, a non-banking financial company is regulated by both. So, this is the regulatory constraint that needs to be verified and corrected. The second is credit risk. Credit risk is very high because there is scope for people to become default and institutions to become default. The third is competition. With the rise of financial, technological firm, the fintech sector, there is huge competition for these financial intermediaries to stay and to grow, particularly in rural areas. And finally, the financial instability is also a challenge, especially for non-banking financial corporation sector. These requires effective supervision and thus wants to improve the whole Indian financial system. Dear students, knowledge seekers and learners, Let us now try to summarize whatever we have discussed in today's lecture. Firstly, we have discussed and understood that financial intermediaries are central to fund flow. We have also highlighted that these financial intermediaries, they include banking and non-banking institutions. Further, we have also appreciated the point that financial intermediaries perform specialized roles in the Indian system. And finally, we all will agree to the point that financial intermediaries support economic growth and financial inclusion in the Indian economy. My dear students, knowledge seekers and learners, thank you very much for being with me in this particular lecture.